Okay. Let's see. It takes StreamYard a couple of minutes to catch up with me. Well, with anybody, it's not unique to me. Well, it says there's nobody here, but that's frequently not true.
Okay.
Like it's on a delay, or it'll tell me there's nobody here and there are like 3 people in the comments going, hi, how's it going? So if you're already here in the comments, say hello if you want. If not, just hang out. It's all good.
Hey girl, we're here, right? Come on.
We're here. And there may be people watching it back later because, you know, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific's not always the greatest time for people, you know, but I have to go to bed early because reasons.
Yes, it's fine.
So let's see. Let me take a closer look at your bling.
Yes. So I have chest bling instead of head bling. It's
nice.
Very large and colorful.
There's got to be a way that you could turn that into like a gravity defying.
I kind of tried before, but it's really heavy and it kind of went in my face. And yeah, it looked a little, it vaguely looked culturally appropriation-y as well. So
I'm not sure what culture I'm appropriating, but this is pretty dodgy.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna.
I mean that stuff. It looks a little like original series Star Trek, and you're like, maybe that was okay, but theoretically we know better now.
Right.
Just saying. So how are you doing this evening?
Good, doing well. I've got some, hopefully got some construction right outside my window, of course. So hopefully that won't.
Nice. Earlier, my neighbor was mowing his lawn for the 3rd time this week. And yes, it is only Monday.
Yeah.
We think he goes outside, like his wife retired. And she is like one of those Italian-American housewives. Like she actually, I think, immigrated when she was a child from Sicily, who is meticulously clean. Yeah. Just like you could do an appendectomy in her kitchen. And I think that she's always finding stuff for him to do in the house. So it takes him like 3 hours to mow a half-acre property.
Yeah.
And it's like he's just hiding from his wife.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, well, it says there's somebody here. So hi, somebody who's here who may or may not want to comment. That's all good. Now, the thing is that this is something that I like to do on camera when I can. Yeah. And I hope you don't mind because I got some book mail today and I like to open that on camera for interest. So please bear with me. Oh, I didn't introduce you. For people watching now or later, this is Jennie L. Spohr, and correct, is it Spohr or Spohr or?
Spohr. Although what's funny is when I got married, I joked that I should add an umlaut over the O just to make it more interesting. So it would have been like, but yeah, I did not do that.
Well, the umlaut is the most metal of diacritical marks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we got a couple more people joined us. Good evening, couple more people. Anyway, your new book is Heirs and Spares. Now, is this a standalone? Is it the start of a new series? How does it tie into
the so it is the first book in a series, but what it is I published this series about a decade ago in a sort of warm romance version. And I decided
a sort of what romance version?
A kind of warm romance, like a little softer, like gentler romance, like closed curtains, closed bed curtains way. So I decided to re-release it with the scenes that, frankly, I always wanted to have in the book.
Okay. Megan is here. Megan is here very briefly. Megan's book nut. She's here very briefly. She's dropping in quickly before a meeting. I am amazed that you are here at all, Megan, and I appreciate it. Megan is getting married on the 12th.
Congratulations, Megan.
So we're all very excited for her. And yes, and it is amazing. She's been showing up to, she had like a period of about a month or so where she just like couldn't make very many live streams at all. Yeah. And she's been showing up more recently, but it's frequently it's come in and say, hi, I have to go meet with the photographer or, you know, whatever. So I appreciate your being here at all, Megan.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And yes, so as I was saying, Heirs and Spares. Now you've already, is the Realm series like a completed series now, or?
Yes, the completed series, the first 3 books plus a novella, you can buy in what I'm calling the closed bed curtain editions. Those are all available now. And the Betwixt the Sheets version, which is the versions that we've got out. Heirs and Spares is out. God and King, which is the second book, is also out. And then Crown and Thorns, which is the third and final book in the series, will be out by the end of this month.
Okay, we have a couple more people. Never Ending TBR in Kristen's Corner. Kristen saying hi. Hi, Kristen. And Megan's LOL, you're welcome. and she says, love the idea of 2 different versions. Yeah, so do I, because it's like, I just kind of like, when I read a book frequently, I feel like I want to outsource my imagination. Yeah. So I could imagine what's happening behind the, the closed bed curtains. Yeah. But, and if if it's there and I don't feel like engaging with that, then I can skim it, Anyway, I was just explaining that, I don't want to intrude on your author time, but I did get this piece of book mail today that I want to open. So, and I like to do that live because it gives some interest and some points of, discussion. So let's see. I'm not sure what this is. I don't remember ordering anything, but, I think we've all had one of those, like we went on Amazon and there's a fugue state and like,
Right.
And so oh my gosh, somebody packed it. Oh, whoa. Oh my goodness. Oh my stars and garters. If it isn't, Heirs and Spares by Jennie L. Spohr. And see.
And scene and fantastic. Yes.
Aha.
I do love that you said packed it though. Haha. No pun intended.
Well, it was wedged in there.
It's a wedge again. Wedging, packing. Too many verbs.
Say no more, say no more.
Right.
And there is a lovely, there's an exclamation. It says enjoy with an exclamation mark.
Yeah.
So it is a, what do you call it? Imperative.
Yes, quite.
It's just like, you will like this. You will order the next one.
Yes.
And there is a nice bookmark that says, reads Royal Smut. You are not wrong about this. You are not wrong about this at all. What would the bookmark say if I had requested the, whatchamacallit, the closed bed curtains?
Probably like reads Royal Intrigue or something like that.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Royal Romance, maybe.
Anyway, I just want to let people know is what happened was then you were on, I think it was Bee's last live show before summer vacation happened. And, yeah. And I was there and it was fun. And then you got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago and you were like, you won the giveaway, by the way. And I'm like, oh, would you be interested in joining me for a live stream? I have followers in the dozens at this point, subscribers well into double digits. So, and you were like, sure, you bet. Why not? And then I was like, oh, and by the way, the topic I was going to be talking about is DNFing, because I know a lot of people feel different ways about DNFing. So, I mean, I could interview you all day long.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about anything, almost anything.
Whatever. But this is kind of, I mean, and an interview is fun and I enjoy doing that, but we just did that.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll remember to put a link to Bee's live show that you were on in the doobly-doo so people can watch that if they're interested, if they didn't see it the first time. And so I thought, but usually this is my live stream, which is a discussion. Book talk with Sock, because I am Sock Marionette, a middle-aged lady in a tiara talking about books. And I also have this I do every other Monday, and this happened to be the Monday. And I knew that I was like really kind of worried over the weekend. I was like, well, the post office says it's going to be here Monday. What if it's a lie?
Right.
Usually they underpromise and overdeliver, but this time they were spot on. And so I also every Wednesday, not every other Wednesday, but every Wednesday, because that's dedication to a bit, I do a live stream that is with, reading, productivity, napping, sprints, whatever you want the time for. And in between, I'll just talk about books I've bought recently. And during that, I can't play it live because of copyright reasons, but I always provide a link to the classic rock radio station I'm listening to.
Oh, nice.
So that if people want to listen to classic rock, they can join me. And if they see me bopping out, they can like, what is this?
Okay.
What is she doing? At times.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, at times I have a lot of Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls and stuffed animals and so on. And at times they will start dancing. Last time it was because of Jack and Diane came on. So
well, that's what I was going to ask is what is considered classic rock now? Like as a hardcore Gen Xer, when I think classic rock, I think more, you know, Steely Dan and things like that. But like now classic rock is like Duran Duran and Bon Jovi, and it's making my little heart like crushed. So
well, yes. At least they don't call them oldies, you know.
Right.
But yeah, the other day I was driving around and I was, oh, this is a modern station, and they were playing Umbrella by Rihanna. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's not modern anymore. That's from like, I don't know, almost 20 years ago.
Right. When it
and I'm like, yeah.
You know. Yeah.
So yeah, the one I listen to, the one I usually provide the link for is a 105.9 The River. Yes. Hartford, this is Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford's I think it's hits of 70s, 80s, and 90s, mostly 70s and 80s.
Okay.
So
nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Bon Jovi and Queen too, Megan. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. She's got it all on her mind because, of course, she's getting married. And I don't know if Megan watches Doctor Who. I don't know if you watch Doctor Who, but I was thinking of this because when Rory and Amy got married on Doctor Who, they played Crazy Little Thing at the reception. Crazy Little Thing called Love by Queen at the reception. And in another more modern episode, was one of the Peter Capaldi episodes. They're on this like Orient Express train in the stars.
I haven't seen that one.
And there's this like lady who's singing like 20s jazz, 1920s jazz. Yeah. And she's singing Don't Stop Me Now, but in that style.
Oh, cool. That's fun.
Very postmodern jukebox, very pamplemousse.
That's fun.
Doctor Who is on my to watch list, says Megan. Well, I hope you have plenty of time.
Right.
If you redirect all the time you've been spending on wedding prep for the last year or whatever,
right,
9 months, year, whatever, however long it's been, you might get through the first 3 Doctors. Right. Or maybe she's just going to do New Who. That's fine. Right. So anyway, the topic for today is, like I said, DNF. And I am not at all hesitant to not finish a book.
High fives.
High fives all around. We are Gen Xers and we do not finish books.
Right.
If we're not enjoying them. Right. But I found, I was kind of looking around because I know some people don't like doing it. They feel like it's being mean to writers, which, you know, I get that.
Nice.
LOL, I watched a few of the original episodes, but I think I might just start with the newer stuff, says Megan. Well, you got to limit it somehow. Yes. Otherwise, you're going to be, the next thing you know, you're going to be like meeting shadowy men in the alleys of Marrakesh trying to find those missing episodes from the 60s.
Right.
And this is just it'll spiral out of control.
Yeah.
It really will. Anyway, so, and I found this essay by somebody, and she was explaining why she doesn't DNF. And one is just like a hardcore completionist. I get it. She doesn't like to leave things unfinished. But one of the things she was saying is that she has become a published writer. I don't remember her name. I don't know that I think the blog post might have been anonymous. Even if it wasn't, I wouldn't like it. But she said, because now that she's a writer, she feels like, she says when she goes on Goodreads and she sees somebody didn't finish her book, she's like, why didn't they finish it? What did I do wrong? And she says, you know, you can tell yourself not to do that all you want, but you know, you're not always going to be able to, you know, not do that. Megan says, LOL, yes, the missing episodes drove me crazy. And Megan says, I'm getting better at DNFing, but still struggle with it because I'm a completionist. Yes, we're always joking on the historical romance, Tea and Biscuits book club with Tara and B.
Yeah.
Mama Needs to Romance, about how like Megan and Terry and occasionally Paige are just like those people, those readers who will start at the beginning and read all the way through to the end. Yeah. And we're always like checking with them. We treat them like a concordance, you know, like, we're always like, do we need to read this first book first, or can I dump into the middle? And they're like, you should read the first book first because you should read the first book first.
Right.
Yes. So,
yeah.
And Gwen says, if I paid good money for a book, I'm finishing it. Yeah, that was something else this essay mentioned, was if she paid money for it or somebody gave it to her, she wants to get maximum utility out of it.
Sure. Well, but I would say time is money too, right? So your
yeah, that's kind of time and emotional investment and so on.
Yeah.
And she says, Megan adds, but if I don't finish it, I won't rate it. You know, when I don't finish something, when I don't finish something, I don't put it on Goodreads or anything like that. I will occasionally discuss it in my, I do this regular feature on the channel. This is pre-recorded content, not live, called the Book Unhaul. And it's Book Unhaul. I'm unhauling them because they're going back to the library because I get a lot of books from the library. So I just talk about what I'm returning to the library, what I thought of it. Yeah. And I will only mention that I didn't finish a book if it was what some people call a soft DNF. Or if you want to use legal terms, a DNF without prejudice, where I'm like, I just was not in the right mood for this.
Yeah.
Or I just didn't have time to get to it, but I'm still going to get to it. Frequently, I won't even bother to do that because that doesn't really make for riveting content. And as you can see, I am committed to riveting content. So the other thing I will do is I will mention if I DNF it for reasons of content, not like because of the way the writing is, but if there's something in there that bothered me that might trip other people up.
Right. Yeah.
And usually when I do that, I'll just say that. And then if you watch the video all the way through to the end, I'll give spoilers if that's, but other than that, I don't even put that I read it on Goodreads. I don't put that I DNF'd it. I don't rate it. I don't really rate on Goodreads anyway, so I'm kind of bad like that. But so that is one thing I do. I also have another feature, and I've only done 2 of these so far, and I want to do more, but so many ideas, so little energy. And I do, is it safe to read, or are these safe to read? Because some people were saying that they wanted to read older historical romances, like from the 70s, 80s, 90s, but they're a little leery because a lot of the kinds of things that we're aware of today as being potentially problematic, that'll like sneak up and hit you on the back of the head, right?
For sure.
So I do them where I read these and I talk about, like, with spoilers, I talk about like what might trip you up.
Right. Well, sometimes I feel that way with a lot of older movies too, like that I share with my kids. That you just don't remember. I mean, it's like you rewatch Goonies or whatever, and you're like, so we watched the original Top Gun because we were going to go see Maverick in the theater, and partway through the movie, and I'm like, oh, my son is a good egg. He looks at me and he goes, Tom Cruise is incredibly sexist in this movie. And my daughter goes, yeah, why didn't she just slam the door in his face when he shows up like an hour late for their date? I was like, you are completely right.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that this morning. And I'm thinking when Charlie first shows up, I saw this movie like I think I saw it when it came out. I haven't seen it again since, but I still remember when Charlie first shows up and Tom Skerritt is like, she is a civilian, she's not here to date you and she ends up dating him, and I'm like, the script never gave Charlie a chance.
And I mean, it's just so funny, but again, like, we just ate that up, saw no problem with it, or at least I didn't. I was a kid. I mean, no excuse, but there are things in the past that we know better now, and we learn and we move forward, and it's great that you do that for folks that are wanting.
If you get a chance to see our Gen X queen, Molly Ringwald.
Oh, yes.
I think she wrote about it for the New Yorker, and I think it might have also been in a book of essays she published. She talks about sitting down with her teenage daughter to watch 16 Candles.
Oh, man.
And they're just looking at each other.
So racist.
Well, the racism, and also the whole thing with like the girl being passed out.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's just stuff you don't, well, it's like you just have these fond memories of it, whether it's a book or it's a movie or something. You have such fond memories, but you haven't seen it in 30 years, and then you go back, you're like,
well, meanwhile, Andrew McCarthy's over here with his son watching Weekend at Bernie's, and his son's big comment is, Dad, I love you, but this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Right.
I don't know if Andrew McCarthy clapped back with, well, you know, you got to grow up in a nice house. So
exactly. So go cry in your big bag of money, kid, because
yeah. Do you have student loans?
Yeah.
Stuff like this is why.
Right.
So yeah, the other thing, what I always think of in terms of being fair to an author and to myself as a reader, is I actually think it's not fair to the writer for me to force myself to read a book that's just not for me.
Right.
It's just going to make me resent the book, resent the writer, and that's not fair to them. Because what did they do? They wrote a book I didn't like.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm sitting there, you know, hate reading it and going, it's like, no, that's not fair to me. That's not fair to the writer. So that's kind of my attitude about DNFing. Yeah. But like I said, I know people have complicated feelings about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, I was a little bit of a teacher's pet growing up. So I have a little bit of, I guess I don't anymore. The older I get, the less guilt I have. But I think when I was younger, I had more guilt about not finishing a book, especially a book that everyone loves or is like a classic. And the last one that I finished that I was like, I am slogging through this. It's a classic. I have to. If you're an educated person, you read this book, right? Was Brothers Karamazov. I was so done with that book. And I was like, this has got to get better. This has got to get more interesting. Like, no, it was not for me. And I was like, this is the last book that I'm supposed to read that I'm going to finish.
I actually liked that one.
Yes, I love it.
Crime and Punishment. Oh my gosh. Crime and Punishment was just, that was,
I mean, there's rough stuff in it.
No. Not going to do it.
I loved Anna Karenina. Oh my God.
I have not read any Tolstoy. I haven't read any Tolstoy.
Talk about Russians, but so on the DNF, that I felt like my little, again, teacher's pet guilt relief came from Nancy Pearl, who is local to Seattle. She's a librarian, but she was the basically librarian for NPR for years, right? She would go on and talk about books on NPR constantly on All Things Considered and stuff like that. And she had a couple books called Book Lust. So before all the social media, it was like, if you like this book, read this. If you're traveling to Europe, read these books. It was like all these recommendations from her. But she said her rule was that you take your age and you subtract it from 100. And those are the amount of pages you must read before you put a book aside. And she's like, if you're not hooked by that, then you can put no guilt, put the book aside. So like if you're 30, right? What's that? 70 pages. You have 70 pages. So as you get older, you only have to read if you're 90, you only have to read 10 pages because you do not have time for this.
Well, I
love that. And I was like, she's a librarian. She's like a national treasure. And she said this, then okay, I'm not going to feel guilty about putting books aside anymore.
Well, my mom is a retired librarian. She has no guilt.
Yes, right? Because
she's like, life is short and this book is long. And I'm like, Mom, it's 80 pages. She's like, it doesn't need to be.
It doesn't, right. And if you don't like it, I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's a author, Robert Degoni, he writes crime. It's great. If you're into like thrillers and sort of, it's that, anyhow, they're well written. He was talking about a conference about, sometimes my books just aren't for people. Like, I think people should like peaches because they're my favorite fruit. He was like, but some people just don't like peaches. He was like, so my book's just maybe not for everyone. And as an author, like taking that to heart and being like, you didn't like my book? Okay, it wasn't for you. Instead of being like, they're right. I'm a horrible writer. I'll never write again. I should never have done,
Yeah, because I was kind of curious to get your perspective as somebody who is a published writer and how you feel about that.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's still, of course, you never want somebody to be like, I hated this or like, right. Or I think I got one review that was basically like, I don't think this author has ever had sex or something. I'm like, okay, well, not going to share stuff, but I was like, okay, great. All right. Not for you. It wasn't steamy enough for you. All right. You know? I'm, sorry, move on. But it doesn't, I don't think it's like, ooh, about it anymore.
Yeah, well, I think probably a DNF must be tough for writers, though, because you don't know why. Because it could be like, I got to a certain point, there was just something in it that struck me prom,
right.
or I ran out of time and I had to, get it back to the library, or I had to do something else. And, I just whatever, or like this morning, I was returning a book to the library and my mom saw what it was and she's like, "Oh, is that any good?" And it was a book of short stories by Ted Chiang, the science fiction writer. He wrote the short story that Arrival was based on. And, he's got a lot of dense ideas, dense in the, like, not in the stupid sense, but dense in the, lot packed in there. Each page is earning its weight.
Right.
And pulling its weight, I should say. And my mom said, "Oh, was this any good?" And I said, "Well, I only read 1 or 2 stories." And I said, and then I'm not in the space to read something like this right now. Absolutely. And she's like, "Oh, then I'm probably not either." And I said, "Maybe when the weather is a little cooler."
Right.
Right now, all I want to do is read romances and eat ice cream.
Yes. Well,
I got plenty of both.
I think I talked about this on Bees, is that Bees little YouTube that I read seasonally. So like in October, I read all my Gothic horror, October and November. And like in the summer, yeah, give me some fun summer, beach reads or whatever. I love to sort of read by the sort of.
Well, sometimes I like a little counter programming.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got to stick some stuff in there, but like, again, I'm not going to pick up, saying Anna Karenina in the middle of July. Like that's not going to happen. that's more November, January, February, that type of thing. So,
yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to get your writerly perspective. I think for me, it's just like feeling like, oh, I have to finish this book for class or whatever. And there was a woman who was speaking to, she's just like she was giving a casual presentation about life after divinity school.
Yes.
That was my first master's degree, was at the divinity school, like you. Yep. And she was saying something about how she had this whole bookcase of books that she got for classes and never read. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there going, you can do that? Right. You can just not do the assigned reading?
How did you pass? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, you are not my problem anymore.
Right. Well, that's funny.
Pauline epistles, see you later.
Right. Well, and some of those, I mean, in graduate school, those are some expensive books. In fact, I just cleaned out my bookshelf and I have a couple of books that were like $300, right? Textbooks that I don't use. I'm not I'm agnostic now. I don't practice as a minister anymore. And so I don't use those books. I'm not going to reference them for anything. I don't need them. But it was this sort of like, oh, I got to.
Well, I actually, I have access to different academic libraries.
Yeah.
Like, I live in Middletown, Connecticut. So as a citizen of Middletown, I have access to the Wesleyan Library here in town. Oh, cool. That's and great. Then, of course, I had access to the Yale libraries. Right. And it was very rare that I would actually have to buy a book because it wasn't available in at one of those libraries where I could just check it out and not have to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
just as an author, I just wanted to I don't know, as this author, I can't speak for all authors. I don't look at Goodreads anymore. I think people, not everybody, but people can be much more harsh on Goodreads than they are on other platforms of reviews. I'm not quite sure why, but when I first published the Closed Bed Curtains editions, it was just my little author heart kind of couldn't take it. And so I just don't. So I don't know if people don't finish. I don't know. I see returns. Like my publisher will be like, okay, you had 2 returns or whatever. And that does make me think like, okay, well, obviously really didn't like it if they returned it, but I kind of let that bounce off. Like you have to, in any way that you put yourself out there, whether you're a writer or an actor or an influencer or doing a YouTube show, like you got to develop that skin to be able to let it bounce off and be again, like, okay, I loved this. I loved this book or I wouldn't have written it. And somebody didn't love it. That's okay. That doesn't mean that it's, crappy or wasn't worthy of being written or being birthed into the world. Like you know, it's so trying to stay in my own sort of higher, to use a spiritual term, like a higher vibration of joy and love and affirmation of my own self and my own work. Like, yeah, I just kind of don't track that stuff.
Well, and remember,
like, it'll find you.
The vast majority of the written word, people did not have access to Goodreads. Writers, Jane Austen did not have to worry about Goodreads. You know?
Yes. Although I do sometimes, like, especially early on, I would read the Goodreads or some other reviews of authors who I really, really respect. So some of the classics, or some authors just now, you know, current authors who I really respect and love their work, and read their horrible reviews and was like, okay, some people just be bananas, right? I'm like, you clearly have no taste if you don't like this.
And also the other thing is, I mean, and you'll see this sometimes, like these compilations. I do a lot of quizzes on Sporkle, which is like the it's a quiz site.
Yeah, sure.
And a lot of times they'll have these, like, they'll give you a line from a 1-star review on Goodreads or Amazon or something for a classic novel, and then you figure out which one it is.
Yes. Yeah, that's great.
And that's always fun. And for those of you who hated Moby Dick, you'll be you will be happy to know that nobody liked it when it was published either.
Yes.
That was something that got discovered about 50 years later.
Yeah.
And people like Faulkner were like big into Moby Dick.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And it's like when it was published, it was not a success.
Yeah.
And so if you do not like it, you are in excellent company.
Right.
I liked it, but you know.
I mean, it's just, I mean, I guess it's that sort of, I want everybody to have the freedom to like what they like and not like what they don't like, and not have to have some sort of outer, you know, societal.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're creating that, not pressure within yourself, but if that's something you want to, if you're a completionist, or like Gwen Thornwick said, you know, I paid money for that book, I am going to get the utility for it. And, and another point is that sometimes people, you might be cutting yourself off from what turns out to be a very positive literary experience.
Totally.
If you drop out too soon.
And that, and that can happen too. I have read some books that were slow burn, and I'm like, I cannot. And then you finally are like, oh, you know, now, well, like East of Eden is a perfect example. He describes, right, the Salinas Valley for 50 freaking pages, like something like that. And you're like, I don't care about the deserty hills anymore. Like, can we please? And then once the plot starts to unfold, you're just like, oh my,
well, you know what? I felt okay about skimming that part because I've been to the Salinas Valley. So I'm like, you know, and I went there like in the 80s. It's probably wall-to-wall bedroom communities for the Silicon Valley now, but at the time it wasn't too different.
Right. Or Les Mis too, right? When it's just like, okay, enough about Napoleon. Let's get back to the Thénardiers or something. Come on. Yeah.
I do have a question for you. I meant to ask it. Oh, and I opened my book mail, and I remember, I think we talked about this, and that on Instagram, it's like, what is my platform? Instagram. On Instagram, where I'm also bargain counter argument, as I am here, I pair books with scented candles, and then I take pictures, and it's like, look, here's the book I read, here's the candle I burned.
Yes, beautiful.
And I was asking people who came on B's show, what would you recommend would be the candle to burn? And you suggested that it would be something along the lines of like clove, orange, sandalwood, maybe a little musk, a little this, that, a little amber. Well, I dug out some candles, and now if you could help me, I have 3. So. Yay. And these are all from the same set. This is all from, they do this pretty much every year. They package it a little differently, but they have the same basic sense. It's a candle advent calendar.
Oh, fun.
From Aldi.
Oh,
so it's not super spendy, you know. Yeah. It's actually quite economical. So I knew that there was some stuff in there that would, you know,
yes,
fit in. Yes. When is this 15 something or other
1569 is when it starts.
1569. Yep. Nice. Oh, sorry.
I know, right?
Not a coincidence. Right. Anyway, so I have a clove.
Uh-huh.
I have a spiced orange.
Ooh. Okay.
And I have pomegranate and sandalwood.
Oh, interesting.
So do you have a particular one that you think would be best?
See, I would say spiced orange, but then you've got that sandalwood in with the pomegranate. So you're getting a little bit of a vaguely citrusy, but also flowery and the like smoky. Because I think the smoky and the spicy, the like, you know, clovey is more sort of masculine scent, you know, and so you're kind of wanting that with the grounding of the citrus.
However, I will say this.
Yes.
I have been known to go into the Waffle House and order pancakes. So there is absolutely nothing, because these are all single wick.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing that says I can't light all three of them.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't care. Well, I can. I only have to read 46 pages of 46. How old am I? Yeah, I only have to read. I try to remember my age and also do subtraction.
Yes. These are hard things in perimenopause.
I only have to read 46 pages of the book.
Excellent.
I can order pancakes at the Waffle House, and I can set fire to 3 candles at once.
You can. They actually probably would all smell really good together. But if you had to choose two, I would pick the clove and then the citrus.
The spiced orange?
Or no, you know, because clove, if you've got spiced orange, that's going to be kind of clovey. So do the clove and the pomegranate.
Yeah. Or I could do the spiced orange and pomegranate sandalwood.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you said clove.
Tell me how it goes.
Well, you'll see it. I have to confess, I'm not sure when I'll have a chance to read this, because right now I am actually proud of myself, because for the first time in like over a month, I'm at below 40 books checked out from the library.
Woo!
I'm probably high-fiving the wrong thing, because it's like, as I watch the monitor, it looks like I'm gesturing toward you, but I know I'm not. That this is me gesturing toward you. It's So high-fiving, just
yes,
high 10.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know how soon I'll be able to read this, because I'm under 40, but I'm like at 38, I think, or 37. So I want to get that inventory down so I can start reading all of the books that I have. Because I go to a lot of library sales, and I went to one on Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to know what I got, I'll be talking about it on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And anyway, so I'm not sure how soon it will be, but I will tag you when I.
Well, the whole series will be out by the time you start. So if you wind up liking it, you'll be able to just go.
I'm hoping to get to it sooner than that. I don't know. Anyway, so I just wanted to get to that before I forgot. So here is something I just kind of would like to have discussion, as we have been having. Here's a question. What is it that you wish people would ask you in interviews? I mean, aside from this is where you can find me, and this is when my next book is coming out. I know everybody wants to know that, and you want to share that information, but what is something you wish people would ask, but maybe they don't, or they don't always?
That's a good question. If you can't tell, I'm a pretty chatty person. If you can't tell, I was in music theater as a child.
High fives all around.
Child's hands. So I just like to chat. I just like to, shoot the breeze with people and stay, I love going deep about topics. Like if you really wanted to delve into like
narrative theology,
these, like deep things. Yeah. Theology, anything like and to me, my books as well have those layers in them if you want to find them or if you're looking for them. But they also can stay at just this is just fun. And so there's definitely, you know, oniony layers within the book. So like, as an example, the what happens in the country and happens in politics is a mirror of what's happening in their relationship, right? So you know, it's like when you're watching a movie and it starts to rain, you're like, okay, something really sad is about to happen or really emotional is about to happen, right? If it's raining in a TV show or a movie, right? So it's a little bit of that nod, but then you can go even deeper. It'll like, well, what are these characters based on? Why are they behaving these ways? And what, you know, it's, so I can talk about all that stuff, but it's interesting. Different interviewers ask different things and have different bents that they want to go on. And so I'm just happy. I'm happy to just connect with readers and connect with book lovers at whatever capacity or at whatever they want to talk about.
Where they are.
Few things that I won't talk about publicly. I mean, generally
they are. Now, I have a question. I seem to recall you saying that this takes place in a fictional European country.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's so definitely not.
I carved out a little spot above France on the channel there, and made it's made up. But I mean, at that time period,
and you called it Luxemnacht.
Luxemnacht, exactly. It's right. It's the Germanic states were there at that point, but there wasn't like Germany. It was not a country, right? It was this. So I'm like, okay, it's a fake Germanic state, but it's Catholic. So there we go. Like that's
Belgium.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting. Everything else is historically accurate. I mean, if you will. So like everybody else that's mentioned that's not a part of the Troyden kingdom is real. So the stuff going on in France, the stuff going on in England, the stuff going on, you know, all over with the Reformation and the this and the that, like they're talking about real people and places, which a lot of historical stuff does, just not on like country scale. You know, if you look at, say, I don't know, Discovery of Witches, right? And they go back to the Elizabethan times and you know, Matthew Claremont knows Queen Elizabeth. You're like, well, there was not a vampire that knew Queen Elizabeth. I mean, it's that sort of a thing, right? Where it's like, okay, I just made a fake country, like a giant country, and then because I wanted this royal story in that era that didn't happen anywhere in real life.
Well, it was kind of fun because over the weekend I was reading an arc for a book that's coming out tomorrow, and this is actually from Harlequin. It's a Harlequin Presents.
Oh, fun.
And it's by Jackie Ashenden, who's a New Zealand writer, but it is about, it's modern day, because that's what Harlequin Presents is kind of like their modern day, super dramatic, melodramatic, big emotions kind of stories. And that one takes place in a fictional small European monarchy.
Oh, nice.
And it is a royal story, and it's interesting because it's a marriage of convenience kind of a deal. And she made an interesting choice, which I really respected. And, you know, Harlequin Presents is not very long. This was actually on the longer side because they can be like 50 to 55,000 words. And this was probably like closer to 56,000 words. I think she kind of stretched that limit because, I mean, there's some flexibility there. She stretched that as much as she could. And the main couple, the protagonists, MMC, FMC, they're the only ones with any spoken dialogue in the book.
Oh, interesting.
And there are people on the peripheral, but at first I was like, wow, nobody else is talking. It's all pretty much taking place in the palace. And, you know, she had grown up entirely in the palace, and this is modern, but she had limited access to the outside world and very strictly monitored internet and that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, this is kind of claustrophobic. And I was like, wait, is it claustrophobic? Yes, but it's making the transition to being claustrophilic.
Yes.
You know, like,
right.
And it just was like, it was really that emotional intensity of the relationship.
Yeah.
And how they are in the public eye, and they're these very prominent people in the country. I mean, he's the king and she's his queen.
Right.
And yet they're the only ones in the book.
Interesting.
And I just thought that was such an interesting choice to make. I was into it.
Yeah, that's clever.
Not gonna lie about that. And then the next book I read was a Harlequin historical. Those could be a little bit longer, but this one wasn't that much longer. And it's like had a bunch of different people doing different stuff, saying different stuff. And it was like, it was not a space that, it was not a choice that she made because she didn't have the space to develop other characters.
Right, right.
That was a deliberate choice that she made. And I really respected that. And I really had a good time reading it.
Really, yeah, that's kind of a fun thing to do as an author. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to like test yourself out on some of those things. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is because Harlequin presents titles in a way that they weren't when I was reading them when I was in junior high and high school. They're very descriptive now. So the title like does half the heavy lifting for you, narratively speaking.
For sure.
It's called King, Enemy, Husband. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't,
Get it? Okay, make a synopsis.
I know what it's about,
Right.
Don't even have to read the back of the cover.
Right.
Okay, so where can people find you?
They can find me on, I'm mostly on Instagram at JL Spohr Writer. You can find my website, Jennie L Spohr. It's JENNIEL Spohr.com.
Is this your correct Instagram handle that I put up on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't my glasses.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing this without my glasses on. So we're just sitting here going, and like anybody watching this now or later is like, okay, boomers. And we're like, no, we're Gen X. And we're like, you just made our point for us, didn't you? Okay. And it's Jennie L Spohr.com.
Yeah.
Let's put this, pop that up on the screen. Put it, try to remember to put it in the doobly-doo along with the link to B's interview with you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I do Facebook, but I'm not really on Facebook much anymore. It just feels like it's just not as, I'm sure there is a bookish space that's great there, but
yeah, I think there are, but yeah.
And I'm not on TikTok yet. I frankly, I'm just kind of waiting for the dust to settle on TikTok.
Oh, is it going to be there in a week's time?
Yeah, all that stuff. So, and I was not in early on it, so I feel kind of funny. Anyhow, I don't know. I'm spending the fall delving into my social media platform and what I need to do. So that's a question for readers. Like, what do you want? Like, you as a reader, especially such an avid reader, like a supporter, you're not just a reader, you're a supporter of authors. Like, what do you want from authors in their social media or in the way that they're connecting with you? Because it just feels a little bit like I'm throwing a bunch of stuff out there, and I want to be authentic to who I am and my personality and how my voice, my author voice and stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, but I also want to engage people, and I don't, it's kind of this weird.
Well, it's kind of a fine line. Is you want to engage people, but you don't want to engage too much,
right? Because then I wouldn't have no time to write books or feed my children. Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm not even sure what I expect from authors on social media. I mean,
like, what do you like? Oh, it'd be so great if authors I followed did X. Like, I love to recommend other books. Like,
that's the thing is that social media is like, it's not my native country.
Yeah. Right. It's such an yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just like, I like to be able to, I don't know. I don't know what I want from writers on social media. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought of it.
Right.
So it is you who have startled me with your
my darling. Well, it's like
the tables have turned.
With my authors, it's like, well, I want to keep posted on what they're writing and when stuff is coming out and like all that sort of stuff. And then, writers, that I really follow or really like their work or who are colleagues. It's fun to see kind of their funny, the funny things that they post or the, this happened today. I thought, they feel like friends. And what do I want to hear and see from my friends? It's like, okay, a little bit of their life and a little bit of what's going on so I can make sure I get that next book right away.
Here is something that I just thought of. And so it's going to be gold.
Yes.
And I haven't workshopped it or anything. So
yes, completely. It's brilliant.
It's off the top of the tiara. And is that I think this is more relevant for certain kinds of authors than others. Sure. And I'm not necessarily representative, but I'm always kind of curious. I'd love to see like writers kind of teasing a little bit with like an image or something like that about the research that they're doing for the next book.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, here I am in the 700s section of the public library. And you're like, oh, is she writing something about the golden age of Hollywood? Or is she researching lute music? What? I must know. I must know.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a good idea. That's
or or here is a here's a picture of the kind of dress that I think my male main character, the kind of outfit my male main character would be wearing, kind of dress my female main character would be wearing, something like that.
Sure. Okay, that's good.
So that might be that would be, I think, fun for me personally.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, so I really appreciate your coming on the show, especially at kind of short notice, so that I could open this on camera.
I hope you like it when we get to it.
Yes, anytime you want to come back, I would love to see you again. So you know where to find me on Instagram.
Yes.
Bargain Counter Argument. So just drop me a note and you're like, I'm bored. I want to hang out.
I'm bored. Let's chat. Yeah.
Let's just talk about stuff. Yeah, and of course, like I said, everybody's always welcome to join me for my sprinting show.
Nice.
If you're at 2:00 Eastern on a Wednesday during the day, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you're like, I am bored.
Yeah.
I want to, have somebody keep me company while I do stuff around the house. There's like a whole bunch of people who are in the same boat, including myself.
I love it.
Why I do it. It's called midweek motivation. I don't know how much I actually motivate people, but
that's fun. Gosh, I really do. That's something that I've sort of just in the past couple of months discovered, that people do that. Like kind of
do sprints,
communally sort of either get stuff done or read or write. And I love it. Like, what a brilliant idea, and how lovely to feel connected, even though you're like.
What's nice about 2 p.m. is that gives you enough time to find out what other people are going to do about dinner and be like, oh, yes, that's what I'm doing about dinner. It doesn't work for me because our main meal of the day is actually lunch. Oh, nice. So I've already had it, but it gives me ideas for the following day.
Nice.
So yes, thank you so much for joining me and everybody who was hanging out at one point or another and who was watching this back later. So I very much appreciate it. And I am looking forward to Betwixt the Sheets. Although if other people would prefer, you do of course have the closed bed curtains edition,
which are all available wherever you want to buy a book. There they are.
Okay, thank you very much for joining, and I will hopefully see you again before too long.
Yes. All right. Goodbye, darling. Royal Waves.
Good night.
Bye.